Unknown submarine contact in the vital area. Away the Nixie team away. Away the Nixie team away. Set general quarters. Set general quarters. General quarters, all hands, leave out station. General quarters, all hands, leave out station.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, tonight, BZ and whoa.
What up, dog?
Sackhead's Clint is gone. It's Sackhead's Sean tonight. Wow, so we are going to tear through the gristle of today's screaming headlines and rip out the sinewy tendons of truth ensconced within, all from the hoary streets of Sacramento, Fornicalia, exposing the trembling toadies, the sniveling jackanapes, and the fripperous fopdoodles, infesting leftist and progressive brain-housing groups nationally. Welcome to everyone, one and all, and also to our good friend.
I assume you mean me.
Yes.
Oh, thank Christ. I wasn't sure, to be honest with you. I didn't know if you had other friends somewhere.
Well, you know, we're going to have to make up some crazy crap about why Clint isn't here tonight, because since he's here, we're going to have to talk behind his back. I mean, that just goes as per normal, right?
Well, why would we not? I mean, let's be honest.
Well, we should.
Yes.
Talk behind his back because he's here and he's essentially defenseless. So already we got Mike in chat. Welcome to chat. We have one viewer, and we're not going to unmask the one viewer because
hello, viewer.
We don't do that here.
Not yet
in the shot show. And so it's any time that you're here, it's always great to see you back. And
thank you.
And when I say back, I mean, let's see, you stepped out the Wednesday show, I think back in April.
It was back in April,
if I'm not mistaken, and the times have been different, and I'm smart enough not to try to be sackheads, and it's a different feel. I wish all three could be in here, but I mean, it's a distinct, great thing to have you.
Well, thank you.
On your customary Wednesday show, because we got 50% of the owners of SHR right here, sitting right in front of me. So anytime that you're here, I mean, I see you every week. Okay, for the people, you know, behind inside baseball, behind radio, whatever the hell you want to call it. You and I have at least a lunch or a dinner a week, and we text all the damn time, etc. So
yes, we do.
You're always pumping out the media.
And
you still have a crazy schedule such that you can't come back on Wednesdays. This is, and I want to tell people up front, this is not normal. Mary Brockman, hello, welcome to see you.
Anytime I'm here, it's not normal anyways.
Well, that's kind of true. But what I mean by that is, for anybody that seems to think that this is going to be a regular thing, the schedule is such that no, we can't make it a regular thing, which is why it's always nice to have you back.
It's good to be back. You know, it's funny. I was just saying to somebody via text message. I said, "Do I remember how to do all this shit? Talk and multitask, and because now my job's been easier, right? Because I've been doing a lot of behind the scenes shit.
I was just gonna say
I don't have to like worry about a camera in my face. Not that I worry, but you know, I don't have to deal with that. I get to do social media. Oftentimes, I'm not at the studio, so I get to just kind of log in wherever I am and help you guys out and do social media and text you nasty things while you're on the air, make fun of you guys vigorously and viciously behind the scenes, and then I go on my merry way, and I'm happy and everything's fine. But it is always good. It's still strange, BZ, I will tell you, to be in this chair.
I was just going to say, because you were saying you were talking about multitasking. I got to do this. And I got to put the cameras up and that sort of thing. Well, now I have to do that.
And you've been doing an amazing job.
I have to do that for Clint, and of course I have to do that for my show.
Right.
Can I Bigfoot us together? I mean, like you and I, and some of the things that you've been doing. Can I tell people something rather remarkable?
Yes.
Okay. In the course of one night, I think it was last Thursday night's show. Whatever it was that you were doing behind the scenes, and Sean now has been doing a lot more social media. Whiskey Dale's in chat. Welcome to
Whiskey Dale. Good evening.
you've been pumping up the social media like crazy. And when I went to go look at Periscope Friday after the Thursday show last week, little old BZ just on Periscope had 1,100 hits.
Yeah.
So I've been trying to appeal to truckers because truckers listen late at night, and a lot of them are conservative.
Yeah.
So I've been sending out a lot of social media to trucking companies and organizations and whatnot. And then you were pumping out the social media as well. And in the literally, Sean, in the course of one night.
I know, right?
Yeah, my hits went up by, about 1,000.
Well, you know what's funny, BZ, too? And I actually had this conversation with a friend of mine who's on Facebook, and she does some political stuff as well, named Shannon Lambas. And she put out a post, and it wasn't entirely political, but she put out a post Saturday, Friday or Saturday, I can't remember what day it was. But essentially saying, she put out a post from her and her on-air partner that they did a show, and it was a short show. And they got nothing in response, and she had to go through and say, hey, is anybody seeing this? I put it on Facebook, I linked it, and this was on her page. I feel like I'm being shadow banned. And I said...
From which area?
From Facebook.
Oh, okay.
And I said...
Does Facebook shadow ban?
Well, I don't know. I suspect yes. But I've always suspected yes. But I said, no, you know what? I haven't seen it. And I know I've been friends with her for a long time, doing the politics thing. I said, I haven't seen it. And a lot of other people started chiming in and said, yeah, I haven't seen it either. What the hell? So, it's just sad because we do all of this work on the forefront to get stuff going. And there's absolutely nothing that comes on the back end, and that pisses me off.
We talked about this so many times, and I told you that the chat room, tonight the chat room is, they're a sharp bunch of cookies, and this proves it. Whiskey Dale just said, and Sean doesn't bang on the mic like Clint does.
No, I actually respect the equipment. And here's the other part, too. Most people don't realize this. And maybe I'll set out my little setup because I have my little setup going here.
That's funny.
I have my notes. I have my tablet over here so I can monitor our streams. I have social media going over here so I can monitor our social media as we go.
God, that's great.
So I'm still trying to do that. I have my notes. I have my drink. I have my articles that we're going to cover. And amazingly, I can navigate through all of this. All of this. I can move without doing that.
Yeah, and not bang,
and I apologize
not
to the good people
crap
listening.
out of everything.
Because I can control my person.
Unlike other people.
And before we went on video... we used to blame the nose, remember? Before we started doing video?
Yeah. True.
And now that everyone can see it, you can't have that argument.
No, because now you know what happens.
Right.
And you can see it when it's happening.
And like, is he throwing a sledgehammer around? Like, what is the deal? And it's like, no, he just has zero control whatsoever over his person.
And Whiskey Dale in chat just said, hey, and we appreciate that, Sean.
Well, hey, you know what, Whiskey Dale, God, I appreciate it.
By the way, I also want to say that Whiskey Dale is the guy that's responsible for Clyde Cam. So,
no way!
Whiskey Dale is the guy that was nice enough to give us Clyde, and if you're watching on Periscope, YouTube or Facebook, there's a photo of Clyde up there right now, and it was Whiskey Dale who was kind enough to give us Clyde.
Get out of here. I did not know that. Whiskey Dale, thank you.
Yep, it's him.
Thank you very much. I love Clyde. I've been telling everybody about Clyde. My kids love Clyde.
How many times, we always have to ask, how many times has Clyde, since we put him in the studio in a rather obvious place, how many times has Clyde almost gotten shot?
Yeah, yeah, poor Clyde has seen his own share of action. If he shows up and not to be a jerk, but if he shows up looking like a Vietnam vet with that 1,000-yard stare, I mean, he already kind of has it, but he has reason. Yeah, he's. I'll tell you, most people don't know this. I'm in here late at night, early in the morning sometimes, and if I'm not thinking that Clyde is in here.
I know where you're going. Oh, and Whiskey Dale also says, yes, I was the one that shot that bobcat.
Nah, even better. His name's Clyde, Whiskey Dale. I got to ask you to respectfully use his name. And there is people showing up in the YouTube chat.
Oh, are there really? Okay.
Yeah, Jennifer Hulever, which I always say it wrong and I always get yelled at. Cold Warriors in our YouTube chat, and please, I'm going to jump into that in just a few minutes.
Okay.
And I'll monitor that.
Back over in the SHR chat, we have Jan McKillop, who is in here.
And if they all want to go to the YouTube chat, they can all chat together. Just SHR Media on YouTube. Just saying.
But we're still kind of thinking about where it is that we want everybody to congregate.
Right.
So for folks who are in YouTube and like to chat on YouTube, it's not entirely impossible that we may end up migrating over there.
Well, and we've talked about this before, right? Chat roll is great, but YouTube, and most people don't know, we pay for chat roll. It's an expense, right?
Right.
It's built into YouTube, and actually the chat abilities are a little bit better, in my opinion. They can hold a lot more. Mamba's in chat. Hey, Mamba, over on YouTube. They can just hold a lot more. There's a lot more. There's a lot more you could do with it. I can actually elect people if they wanted to jump into our chat. I can elect people to be able to moderate. I can kick people out. I can do a lot of things. So it's definitely, check it out if you like watching us. And we're not getting rid of chat roll. We're not saying that. But if you like watching us, go ahead over to YouTube, SHR Media. It'll be the first thing that pops up that we're live, and jump in. Also, like and subscribe on our YouTube channel. Please like and subscribe. If you haven't done it yet, share it to your friends, share it to your enemies, share it wherever the hell you can, because it's really it really helps us. I mean, at the end of the day.
The other question that I had is, now we're streaming. Not just Stream of Consciousness, but we're streaming on 3 platforms simultaneously. We're on Periscope, we're on YouTube, we're on Facebook. So because of that, and especially when I'm doing my show by myself, I just don't have the time to go to 3 other platforms. And I haven't been to Periscope, so I don't know what's the chat experience like.
So the chat runs on the side.
Periscope.
It runs a lot like the YouTube one, but as the show producer, as the show itself, there's definitely far more. There's far more that you can do on YouTube. Mamba, I'll tell you right now, as much as they shadow ban on certain things as Google, I know Google's owning YouTube, but they have for 5 years. As much as they shadow ban on certain things, I don't think that they will eliminate conservatives on YouTube, and here is why. Money. They did Alex Jones. I know everyone's going to say they did Alex Jones.
Right.
I remember that they did Alex Jones.
I'm not even worried about that because Alex Jones is Alex Jones. That's a discussion for another day. I was just curious about Dennis Prager.
Well, right.
Because, they could get money out of Dennis Prager for that kind of stuff. So that's political. That's a political bent. But having said that, though, I have not been listening to anything on Periscope.
Ever.
And I do chat with Alan Thomas, for example, when he has his show on YouTube. And one thing that I noticed about his show, and maybe it's just a matter of settings, you can't put URLs in his chat.
But I think that's a setting, because last week you said that, and last week I said, no. I've put URLs all over the place in our YouTube chat.
Okay. Because I think that's important for folks to be able to cross-communicate if we have an article or if they have an article that they want somebody else to see. I think that's important.
I agree. And I could do that in YouTube. We could set the parameters for all the YouTube chat. And actually, this is the most people we've ever had chatting in YouTube, which is just beautiful. Thank you. But I just think that, it's going to be easier for people to kind of interact if we're all in one place. And like I said, chat roll does its job, but, all right, we're business people, right? I mean, we own a business. We are capitalists. If we're getting something for free, Mary Brockman's in YouTube chat. If we're getting something for free, why are we going to pay for it? You know, and, I just think it's good business. That's just me.
Jan McKillop said, good, love to watch you guys. Mary Brockman said, you rarely watch chat anyway. And then Whiskey Dale was saying, I thought Facebook has a good video stream. And Mary Brockman said, I thought Facebook was kind of choppy. And then there's Beantown Billy. Got to say it that way. Got to say, welcome to Beantown Billy. Over here in the SHR chat.
In the SHR chat. And it's not going away. It's just, it's fun for us to try it out. I get Dale over there. We have 8 people talking right now in the chat room on YouTube accidentally. So I'm just going to say.
This is the first show this has happened in.
Right. That's what I mean. You see how quickly nothing draws. Jan McKillop's over there now. Nothing draws a crowd like a trout.
Yeah,
so,
no kidding.
And it helps us too. And like I said, like and subscribe. But it helps SHR Media in the sense of, on the listing of live shows, it'll start to go up with the more people who are interacting. So if you could help us out with that, that would be super duper.
But I just have to say that when I'm running the show by myself, I apologize. The only time I really have to be able to get into chat is on the breaks. So that's why it's wonderful. It's great that Sackhead Sean is here tonight, because you guys all know none of this would happen if it was Sackhead's Clint sitting in that chair over there right now. That would not be happening, and we would not be pumping the social media.
I'm trying.
He'd be in the thing going
there.
bang, 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 bang with the microphones and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah. Just beating the shit out of it.
Now, the big question, however, is how long are we going to keep these people tonight?
Well, and hopefully to the end. Hopefully to the end. That's what we're going for. If we can keep you all for the next couple hours, we're going to try to keep you interested because we get a lot going on tonight. Look, we're going to talk about the Catholic Church here shortly. It's going to piss some people off, and some people are going to understand.
Maybe we need to make a disclaimer. You'll understand a little bit later, but for those people who are thinking that you don't discuss religion or politics, tonight the Sackheads are going to be talking religion and politics, and we're going to be talking about the Catholic Church. Mm-hmm. We're going to be talking frankly about the Catholic Church.
Yeah.
And for those people, I'm just saying this up front, we may lose some of you. I hope we don't. But the reason that we are talking about it, Sackhead Sean and I sat down at dinner and we had a big discussion as to whether or not we were even going to broach this topic.
Well, and it's something that we probably just have to. And look, I mean, let's be honest about a few things. Part of fixing some things is debate. You have to be able to debate. You have to be able to discuss. You have to be able to do all of those things. We want to discuss. We want to debate. But look, as pundits, as people, you can't be afraid to have the appropriate amount of discourse when something sucks. And I hate to say it, but right now, something sucks. So we're going to talk about that here in a second. We're talking about the Muslim camp in New Mexico, the passing of John McCain, the FBI, DeSantis, Palestine, and a whole lot more. And when I tell you it's going, folks. So
just a disclaimer, just a warning up front. If you are very sensitive about some of these issues, we're going there, just to let you know.
Okay, well, you've all been warned. BZ, sir.
It first started out when I think... there was a report that came out. A grand jury in Pennsylvania found that there were 301 predator priests that were named in a Pennsylvania grand jury sex abuse report. And it said essentially that they were raping little boys and little girls. And it turns out that there were up to or over 1,000 priests, specifically in the Catholic Church. This revolves around this investigation. And they were looking into 6 Pennsylvania dioceses, including Pittsburgh and Greensburg, and they released that 884-page document, which was 2 years in the making. And as Sean and I discussed earlier, just before the show, everything else that came before, these are not cases or counts that are involving anything else over the years and the decades. It's sorry to say and quantify it in terms of years and decades, but this is something entirely separate from any other cases that have been discussed before.
Yes.
Normally, I don't talk about these things very much. Religion, I keep to myself. I am a religious person. My relationship, my faith, I don't talk about much. I don't proselytize. I believe in God. And it's this occurrence and also the reactions that we're seeing, or in some instances, the non-reactions we're seeing, were such that I mean, it brought out some things that I hadn't touched in my brain in quite some time.
Right.
And this touch, and the reason this is sensitive, it's sensitive to Sean and it's sensitive to me because it's touched us both. And I don't mean that in that I'm trying to indicate that I've been a victim, because I have not.
As people.
But it touches us because events like these have touched us in a personal way insofar as we are familiar with circumstances like these involving the Catholic Church. So that's why we're going here today. We cut it up a little bit at the beginning, and now it's time to get serious because, as you mentioned earlier, it really is time to discuss things like this. And when you have a reaction from the Catholic Church, or I guess you could quantify it as a non-reaction.
Yes.
I went kind of into 210 over 190 mode. Now, I made a copy for Sean and me. We have copies of a New York Times article, and the headline of this article says, "Vatican power struggle bursts into open as conservatives pounce." And I'm going to ask Sackhead Sean a question, and I'm going to ask him if I can have maybe about 10 or 15 minutes to discuss the way things have affected me. And just reading that headline in that article, and we have other articles that we're going to refer to.
Of course.
That just lit me up. And if I could solicit your courtesy for that, I have a response to some of the headlines and the articles that we've all seen in the newspaper. And again, caution, because this has, and you will come to know how this has affected me. And for those who say that I shouldn't say poo-poo nasty words, there might be a few that come out now. And after I say my piece, and Sean will obviously have his to say, I hope that you'll understand why I've done this and why I'm going here. Because to me, this is personal. This is nothing that these are not just articles on the internet or something that you see in a newspaper. This has affected me very personally. And so when the article says Vatican power struggle bursts into open as conservatives pounce, excuse me just for a moment, you don't need to be a conservative to know that forcing an adult penis down the throat or into the anus of a young boy or a child is wrong. Okay, apparently that author, Jason Horowitz, believes only conservatives would object to that. Okay, conservatives are pouncing because no matter the time, the place, the persons, or the institutions involved, it's an abomination to conduct those acts on children.
Yes.
And Pope Francis, to proffer his classic line, "Who am I to judge?" I'd say to the Pope, you know what, buddy? It is your job to judge. Do your damned Pope job. The Catholic Church has been putting this issue on ignore mode, not just for the past few years, but decades and decades. And just like fake news can't admit their faults, the Catholic Church can't seem to admit its faults. The cover-up is almost as bad as the initial acts themselves. And make no mistake, they are an abomination upon the poor souls who were predated, essentially. So I want there to be no mistake. These acts are committed by adults against children, And no matter who the suspects are, collar or not, backed by the Pope or not, these are criminal in nature, and people need to do prison time. Very, very long prison time. And I have to get this off my chest as well. People know that I worked in law enforcement. I worked 41 years in law enforcement. For 10 plus years, I was a detective for a large 2,000 plus officer California department. And I was in theft and warrants and sex assaults, robbery, homicide, and child abuse. I took classes from a guy named Sergeant Toby Tyler of the San Bernardino Sheriff's Department. He is a national and world recognized subject matter expert on child abuse. And I was asked to come to my child abuse unit. I was solicited. They knew that I could work cases. They also knew that I didn't have children. And I don't know if that comes as any shock to anybody. Sean's got kids. I do not. So I'm guessing they thought that it'd make it easier for me. Well, guess what? It wasn't easier. So here's what happens in many child abuse bureaus in law enforcement. The new guy gets the cases the rest of the bureau doesn't want, because you had to prove yourself significantly before you got into what's called the big show. And that's pitting yourself in an interview room against a pedophile who's been power mind-fucking children for years and thinks he's smarter than you and pretty much knows the law as well as you do. He's cunning and a sociopath and sometimes highly intelligent and aided and abetted by family members and even sometimes organizational groups like NAMBLA. Okay, but remember the hierarchy of child abuse, at least in my department. This is how it worked. The new guy gets the cases that the rest of the teams don't want to take and no longer want. They did their time doing these cases, and now you have to do it too. So here's what the initial child abuse deputy gets in my department. I can't speak for anybody else. You get all the dead, burned, stabbed, boiled, shaken, crushed, lacerated, broken, buried, drowned baby cases that no one wants to work because they are so fucking grim and horrible, but you have to. Because evil like that has to be snuffed out, and it has to be made to answer and pay. The physical cases, and that's what you get when you first go there, they torture you. If you're a parent, they tear you apart. They eat you alive. You can't touch them. You can't hug them. They're dead or hurt or bleeding in front of your eyes, and so you have to talk for them. You have to represent them. You have to be their voice. So you do your job, and you investigate, and you turn up evidence, and you make contacts, and you conduct interviews or interrogations, and you make your case to the best of your ability. Now, this is tough to talk about because it's bringing back memories that should mostly be forgotten, but I'm kind of risking the brain theater tonight so that I can make some points, because this shit takes its toll on you. Just ask the Kettle One company in the Netherlands, and they can tell you, quite frankly. And so if you're good and you clear your cases, and I'm sorry, but I'm going to go right through the break, and you fully represent the most innocent, the most unprotected, and vulnerable victims on the planet, you get to move on to the big show, and you pit yourself against adults who purposely used their brains, their maturity, their size, their physicality, their training, education, and experience, and guilt against the lesser brains and immaturity of children and infants. Infants are sexually abused. And if this makes you uncomfortable or you don't want to hear about it, I have to tell you, I couldn't give a fuck less. You either listen to this or you can tune my ass out, but that still won't change the reality of those children and infants that were in my sphere when I was working child abuse, or the children abused by the Catholic Church. There's some things that you need to know about pedophiles, and I'm sure I can hear the people clicking out right now. And okay, pedophiles are age rangists. And what I mean by that is they have preferable age ranges of their victims. Some pedos, I swear to Christ, some pedos will only abuse infants. Abusing anybody over 1 or 2 to them is disgusting. They may have age ranges from 5 to 7, whatever. It doesn't matter. It changes. So once their victims are out of that range, they're no longer interested. It becomes part of them that they can't change until or if they even change it themselves. And we also know this. There's an axiom that everybody that's ever worked in child abuse or around that venue knows. And that axiom is this. Everybody who abuses was abused, but everybody who was abused will not necessarily abuse. If you break that down, you'll understand the simple complexity of it. Toby Tyler taught me that, and it's an absolute. I have an example. A long time ago, almost 2 years now, when I started my first radio show here on SHR, I told folks about the strongest 14-year-old girl that I'd ever seen in my life. Her name was Marjorie. And this was the 90s. She'd been abused, literally, for years at the hand of her uncle. She finally told her mother, so her mom contacts the department, and I got the case. Marjorie was the coolest, the calmest, the greatest, the strongest person I think I've probably met in my entire life at the age of 14. So here's what happened. She sat in our soft room, and she conducted a pretext phone call against her abuser. She couldn't wait to do it. I told her what was going to happen. She calls him up. The recorder's running, okay? I fed her 3x5 cards with questions that I'd written, and the uncle bought it. Hook, line, and sinker. She could have earned an Oscar that day. He went down for 100+ counts. I got more time for my convictions in child abuse than I ever did in homicide. So at one point, I wrote for an anti-pedophile website called Absolute Zero United, and it's still on the internet. It's absolutezerounited.blogspot.com. Its last post was in 2014. I recommend you read it because it absolutely drips with evil, but it lets you know what these things are thinking. And so because of my anti-pedophile writing on that site, I was sued federally by a pedophile. I prevailed, and so did some others who were named, but for a time, my personal information, my peace officer information, was made available on the web, and it was later taken down. So frankly, I highly recommend you go there. If this, I can't say it interests you, but if you've ever been involved in this, absolutezerounited.blogspot.com. You got to check their archives. Expose yourself to the world as it really exists. The world that you see now is not, it's not how you want it, but it's how it really exists.
Well, I think to be able to, and not to interrupt, but I think one of the ways that you can better understand and identify pedophiles, not that understanding is what you want to do, but it makes it better to combat it if you have the information.
Know your enemy.
Yep.
Absolutely know your enemy. You can go there and you can read the words of actual pedophiles attempting to justify and even bragging about their conquests of young boys and infants. Infants. Now, I talked about my brain theater. Pedophiles have some of the strongest brain theaters imaginable. Their urges can't be subsumed by castration or denigration or sarcasm or prison. It occurs in the mind, in the most fevered, fetid, disgusting coils of the brain, their fantasies. It's why all too frequently, once started, they can't stop. And I distinctly remember this dude's statement. There was a guy out of Oregon. He was executed in Washington. He was a serial boy killer. His name was Wesley Allen Dodd, and he was executed in Washington in 1993. And he said, I have to be executed because before I have an opportunity to escape or kill somebody else, because if I do escape, I promise you I will kill and rape again, and I will enjoy every minute of it. So it's all because of his fantasies, the mind, the same fantasies that percolate in the brains of abusers in the Catholic Church. There's nothing that makes them unique except that they exist in positions of trust in that community, which in my mind makes their crimes even more execrable. Mm-hmm. So, and I have to tell people about this too. This is why this resonates with me and pisses me off. When I was in child abuse, I got an allegation of an abuse by a Catholic priest in a regional diocese. I started to make contact, but I was told that that particular priest had relocated to another state. Well, I'm sure you can probably suss out that he was relocated. It didn't just happen, I don't think. So I take this information back to my sergeant, who told me to clear the case, and I wasn't the curmudgeonly bastard that I am now, and so I did what my sergeant told me to do. We talked about this at dinner, and I said, one of the things, Sean, that I'll never forget is I did the wrong thing that day. And that decision is going to follow me around in my brain theater. So when I hear that, I think this is a quote, an ideologically motivated opposition has weaponized the church's sex abuse crisis to threaten not only France's agenda, but his entire papacy. Now knowing my background, trust me when I tell you, my default position is fuck yes, it should.
Yeah.
And so
how can it not?
I have to say this as well. Anybody that doesn't support getting rid of pedophile Catholic priests is damn near as evil as the perpetrators themselves. Because you evil fucks enable them and dismiss their actions and their motivations. You think that just because some bastard wears a collar or a red cloak or a tall white hat that they're inviolate. They're not. They're just evil men who need to pay for their crimes. Men. I want to make that distinction right now. Men, not God. Men are fallible. God knows it. Men are not the church. God is the church. Men are not God, but they apparently want to be. You better kneel to God, but if you continue to kneel to men, you're about to have a once great religion reduced to ash and rubble. So, Pope Francis, with your inaction, I submit he's guaranteeing the groundswell against the Catholic Church. Not to mention all the other things that are limiting the spread of the Catholic Church and all the other things that people think about religion in general. It's facing a crisis, not just Catholicism. If Pope Francis continues to do nothing and he doesn't remove evil bishops and cardinals and priests, you can't tell me, you can't convince me that so many of them did not know. That's bullshit. Then they are equally complicit. And then they themselves become a child abuse enabler. And then they themselves become evil. Ball's in your court, Popey. So I got to say to everybody there, I'm sorry for taking up all this time, and I'm sorry that I said some bad words, but to me, this stuff is personal. It's very personal to me.
I don't think you need to apologize. Look, I think a lot of us feel the same way. I think a lot of us understand the difference between the priests who legitimately do it for the right reason and the priests that hide behind it. And look, I know specifically two people who were assaulted by men of the cloth. One was a full man of the cloth. The other one was becoming. It was shut down. It was hid.
So it's personal.
It was paid out.
Personal for you,
Of course
too.
It's personal. It's personal. It's also personal because I'm Catholic. I grew up in a Catholic church. I grew up being told what a Catholic church was. I grew up with John Paul. I grew up in Boston in the 80s and early 90s when all of the different allegations were going on. Cardinals were moving people and this and that and the other thing. And it's just horrific. Look, if you're the organization, in this case the Catholic Church, the last thing that you should want is any of these fucks representing you and then protecting them and going against everything that's in the fucking Bible. I don't understand how. And I can tell you right now, it's only a matter of time before half these assholes end up becoming citizens at the Vatican. Or all priests. That's going to be the other thing. Watch. All priests will become Vatican citizens and then working here on a visa to get them out of the country easier and have charges. They just won't extradite them. I've already said that's going to happen.
I have to admit that's unique, and I certainly wouldn't have thought that. But I'm not saying that
it's its own country.
It's not. Well, yes, it is. Absolutely.
And that's what scares me. Look, I'm a Catholic, and this pisses me off. No, you don't want it in your house. And yes, I am not the most active Catholic in the world before all the good priests that I know start seeking me out and hunting me down for saying, can you really say you're still a good Catholic? But, I am a Catholic. And it just pisses me off. For any pedophile pisses me off anyways, and it should piss you off. I think that's kind of, if it doesn't, there's something fucking wrong with you. If you're one of these people who are trying to normalize it and saying that it's a condition in a brain like homosexuality, there's something fucked up with you. They're children. They don't have the right to consent for a reason. It can't be a sexual orientation to have sex with children. It just can't be. And now, to be a place that's supposed to be safety and faith and religion, and have it be essentially okayed. And, oh, yeah, you know what? If you end up molesting a child, it's fine. We'll take care of you. Fuck, in prison, half these guys have to be separated so they get killed. The church is welcoming them to other places. They're protecting them.
It's just that this so involved me, and for a while, I'll be honest, from sex assaults and from child abuse basically disabused me of being there more than about 2.5 years. That's about as much as I could take it. I went from there to robbery, and then I went to homicide, and I'm telling you, it was a hell of a lot easier to walk into a disgusting homicide scene than it was to have to talk to victims, parents, and try to explain to them what's happening in their case. And I couldn't tell them what these people think or why they do it. Good luck trying to make that explanation. I mean, I could make death notices
a lot easier,
much easier than I could trying to explain to a parent who ended up going into a local ER to wonder why it is that their baby, their infant, was scalded from the waist down, or why X, Y, and Z
Tragic.
happened from the uncle. You know, when you're finally working the big show and you're in the room with these guys, and people say, oh, the first thing that I'd want to do when I get, just let me 5 minutes alone with these guys. Well, you can't do that. Mm-hmm. You can't go there. You can't.
You understand like why?
You know why you can't. So that you have to, and just doing this is enough to damn near remove your soul when you have to sit down in front of a pederast and have what you would consider to be a logical, cogent conversation with them in their terms that they understand. And you cannot overreact because your goal is first to get an admission. Once you get an admission, then you start chipping away and you get maybe another admission and maybe another admission, and then you're going for the confession. Mm-hmm. And there are ways that you do this, and overreacting and screaming and yelling, it doesn't work. And not having that vent on each and every case that you have tears your soul apart. It tears the victims apart. If the victims survive, all the priests, all these infinite people, 1,000 people that will be, they're not dead. Some of them may wish that they were. Some of them may have committed suicide at this point. Certainly people have committed suicide in the past, but this is something that follows you your entire life.
Mm-hmm.
It's followed me my life, and it didn't happen to me. It was just around me for 2.5 years. And even I said, after that amount of time, I'm gone.
Well, and you have to be gone for your own mental ability.
I could not continue to do that. And yet there were people, I probably shouldn't name his name. Pat Flood was probably one of the finest interrogators that I'd ever seen in my entire life, who could work a pedophile. He was brilliant. One of the most intelligent, brilliant, sympathetic to pedophile. That's an act. That's an act. But you have to do what you have to do to get what you need out of somebody that you believe is guilty.
You can do your job.
You have to do your job. So this stuff, and we've already had somebody leave. I'm sorry, but I'm not. But this has to stop.
Well, the problem is look, it amazes me when you have a child who is abused by just a person on the street, transient, homeless guy, whatever. People go out of their minds, and rightfully so. Demand justice, try to attack them, all these different things. I'm not saying that you should try to attack them when they're in custody. You know what I mean? People get so out of control of it.
Right.
But for some reason, when you have the same act done by a person with of the cloth, and it's like people, they react really different. I equate it to cops. When a cop is accused of something, the whole world, the media, everybody else goes absolutely crazy about it. Oh, this cop did this cop did that. The funny part is when the conviction comes down, you know who's the most pissed about that is other cops.
Because it makes their job 10 times
harder, and it's just
more difficult.
Right.
Because just as with cops, in terms of the priests of which we're speaking, in my opinion, the thing that makes it most heinous is that these are positions of power, positions of trust, and positions of confidence and authority. And people feel that they cannot, you need to be able to trust someone who not better than a priest. And when you betray your position of authority, your position of trust and power, I cannot envision how you gain that back.
And the work has to be done. It just has to be done. And look, if you're the Pope right now, you should want this more than anything, and you should be the one who's leading this charge and talking about how horrific and what monsters these people are. Let them ask for forgiveness with God and deal with that with God. But the reality of the situation is, as the leader of the Catholic Church, everyone's looking for you to make a decision and to make some moves, and you're not doing it, and you're feckless, and it's horrific.
The other bad thing is whoever you've got on your PR team, you need to get rid of them immediately, because stories like this that I'm about to read are doing no one any good. This is out of PJ Media, and the headline is Cardinal Defends Pope. He has a bigger agenda, the environment, protecting migrants. Really?
Yep.
Really? That's how you want your Catholic Church to look?
Right.
So this is not a priority. Your representatives are indicating that that's not a priority.
You're ignoring it.
That immigration and the environment are the priority.
Two things that the church should be doing nothing for. Look, I'm not saying that if an immigrant or a migrant shows up at a church asking for food and refuge, that's up to the church. I understand that. But to actively be working against global warming and dealing with immigration rights with countries, no, that's not your fucking job. That's not your job. You can go to the countries they're migrating from and seeing what you can do to help there, but that's not their fucking job. And this is why the papacy has become insane to me. that the people that are leading the Catholic Church, look, whatever you believe in is what you believe in. We talk about this separately. But if you're a follower of the Catholic Church, you cannot look at this Pope and say that he represents what you believed the Catholic Church to be. And I'll say the same thing about Francis, too. I think the last two both sucked.
Well, for remarkably different reasons.
Remarkably different reasons. But look, and I get it. You know, I always say John Paul was to the papacy what Reagan was to Republican presidents, right? You're never going to get that again. It was that shot in the dark. It was that flash. That was as good as it can get for a lot of different ways. John Paul was not perfect, but I think John Paul worked really hard at making the Catholic Church what it was supposed to be. And I know that there were things too. And look, it's just like any other bureaucracy. The Catholic Church is a level of bureaucracy. There are certain things that never made it up to the level of the Pope until later on. Or maybe some things were hidden, whatever. I understand that. And I'm not saying that doesn't happen. But you know, with this indictment out of Philadelphia, you know what a huge-ass fucking problem this is. Deal with it.
These are one of those times where I'm kind of left speechless as to somehow this is the response that the Catholic Church wants associated with it.
You know, it's like the left. The Catholic Church has become a leftist organization. All they do is start talking about what they want to talk about and ignore everything that's going wrong with their people. Look, have you heard anything about the Ellison allegations of the abuse?
Yes.
Right? Have you heard anything else about that? No. But they'll talk all this week about flags and Trump and whatever else. Same thing the Catholic Church is doing. What? There's all these abuse allegations going on? Let's talk about global warming and migrants. It is, I hate to say it, it's right out of Goebbels. It's right out of Bernays. Right? You keep telling people what they need to focus on repeatedly, and they'll focus on that. You're not owning anything. Anything.
The thing I find interesting is that when you go to ESPN, you go there for a reason. There's a specific reason that you want to watch ESPN. When you watch an NFL football game, there's a specific reason that you go there. When you go to the Catholic Church, my guess would be there's a very specific reason that you go there.
Yeah.
And you're not necessarily there to talk about politics, but you are there to talk about the catechism, to talk about the Word of God, to relate with other Catholics, because that's what you've chosen.
If you're Sean, you went
what you
for confession a lot.
There you go.
Stations of the Cross, novenas, Hail Marys. I mean, trust me, they were all. I know it all very well.
You know, if I want left-wing opinions, I'll go listen to Antifa. But my guess would be people seek solace in the Catholic Church because they want to be comforted by the Word of God. Call me crazy, but I'll wager that's what the bulk of Catholics really want.
Yeah, I think so too. They just need to speak the hell up, and they're not, and that's part of the problem. That's it. Really what it comes down to. Catholic priests themselves should be losing their minds. Cardinals should be losing their minds. Everybody up and down
For the
hierarchy should be losing their minds about this.
For the exact same reason that you mentioned with regard to cops.
Yep.
It makes your job so much more difficult because that stains you as well.
Mm-hmm.
You carry that stain. You carry that mark. And it's one you don't want to be associated with at all, and yet people will paint you in that fashion.
I agree.
I don't know. There's so much more to talk about.
Yeah, but
let me back up just a little bit. Pope Francis, I know you couldn't care one whit about me, but if you cared about your followers and your people, Whirl, you need to kick him to the curb. That's the first person that you could have kicked, and you should have kicked. People need to see action. This is beyond just talking. Talking isn't doing it because it's not stopping. And I just went into a lengthy explanation with regard to my experiences and why these things occur and how you need to take care of them. And that's to remove people, because soft, kind words ain't cutting it.
At all. Look, you'll get more followers, you'll get more people staying in the church and people not leaving the church if you are as tough as humanly possible on this and say, we put our money where our mouth is. Correction, we put your money where our mouth is.
Yes. Exactly. Let me throw this out and you tell me if I'm wrong. We got about another 3 minutes before the top of the hour break, which I swear we will take. Could not by, today is Wednesday, could not by, say, Sunday, this weekend, the Vatican, the Holy See, do something concretely positive about this?
100% yes. They could have done it by tomorrow.
Precisely. And that's the point that is, after my entire ranting, I find that probably the most disappointing because the ability exists to show people you mean it.
But you know what, BZ? They honestly could right now. And right now, I mean this, say, look, we will turn over every file, every case, everything we have that we know of involved anyone in our church, any member of our church, any employee, anything, even if it's just a janitor who molested, abused any children, and we will turn them over to the appropriate authorities starting tomorrow. And we will absolutely start pushing people back to where they belong to face charges. We will assist in however we want. We won't hide people at the Vatican like they had been doing. We'll out everybody. Come get them. They could do that tomorrow. And I will tell you right now, there are so many people that would be thankful that are Catholics and non-Catholics. And look, I can tell you, as a young guy growing up in Catholic church, you know, when we found out different people that we know who had been abused, you immediately start wondering, is it that priest? Is it this priest? Well, this priest was really nice to me. What's he up for? You know, and I know that sucks, but it's true. And I can tell you right now, there was some priests that we were always like, okay then. And there are other priests who are like, nah, he's just, you know, he's just fine. But you don't always know, do you? That's the sad part.
To the people who are saying right now, and who've already said it upon the first 5 seconds of us touching this subject, why are you airing the church's dirty laundry? Let the church take care of itself. These are issues that you'd best not address. They're best left to the church to address, and I'm not interested in hearing about this. This is not an issue for you to bring up. And my response in kind to that would be, I wouldn't be talking about it right now if it wasn't the issue. That's not my problem. That's the church's problem. They put themselves on Front Street, not me.
I'll tell you right now, my answer to that is, as a Catholic, it most certainly is my problem. Absolutely is my problem.
It's your church to fix.
Yes. And we are the church, aren't we? I mean, we are members of that church. We are what make those churches possible. So don't say it's not ours to fix. And then, as an American, understanding the justice system, I also believe that it's mine to fix. No more than any other crime that's going on. I believe it needs to be fixed. So, you know what? Fuck you, if that's really your opinion on this. All you're doing is burying your head in the sand because you happen to like your church and priest, and maybe you had no issues. Hey, God bless you.
That's fabulous.
Lovely. But grow up in places where there were issues and you know people that were affected by those issues, and it's a different story all the way around. I know we're on the break. Hey, listen, everyone who's watching YouTube, please like and subscribe. Periscope, please give us as many hearts as you can. Facebook Live, like us, share us. Please like the page, shrmedia.com. On Twitter, SHR Media Group. Go ahead and like that as well, please.
Folks, when we come back, we're going to be talking about a situation that seems to, week by week, just get more bizarre and more strange. You're listening to the Sackheads Against Tyranny, live and direct right here from the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Hey, it's Sean from the Sackheads Radio Show. Also one of the owners here at the SHR Media Network. Are you opinionated? Have you ever wanted to do your own show? Have you ever heard somebody like the Sackheads and go, yeah, I could probably do that better? Well, now's your chance. Send me a 5-minute clip at sackheadsradio@gmail.com, and maybe you can be part of the SHR broadcasting team. sackheadsradio@gmail.com.
Broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, a mere 2 miles from the state capital, the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon Radio Show can be heard every Tuesday and Thursday night at 8 p.m. Pacific and 11 p.m. Eastern, only on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com to listen. You can also watch on the SHR Media Facebook page and the SHR Media YouTube channel. No goldfish were abused in the making of this ad.
When dirty politicians, shadow governments, and deceptive Islam blind the world with fake stream media smoke, their only fear is one man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me through shrmedia.com, highplainstalkradio.com, and the Western Free Radio Network at Spreaker, YouTube, and iTunes for a different perspective weekly on the Unpleasant Blind Guy. And catch me on Jeff Mitchell's EDL Radio on blogtalkradio.com. There's
no surrender ever,
because truth is not always pleasant.
Hey guys, it's Sackhead Clint. I'm excited to tell you about a brand new show here on the SHR Media Network. I'm teaming up with the one and only all-powerful, the bloviating Zeppelin, sitting here to my left, bringing to you a fresh new show here on the network. It's Against Tyranny, and we'll be picking up where the Sackheads left off. Excited to be with you, sir.
Sackheads Against Tyranny.
We're going to chat. We're going to chat Wednesday nights.
S-H-A-T.
Sackheads Against Tyranny.
Wednesday night, 11 p.m. Oh, it's the same time, right? 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific.
Same SAC time, same SAC channel.
SHRmedia.com.
See what I did there?
It's your business diva here, Melanie Collette. I am inviting you to a front row seat as I discuss some of the most intriguing details of wealth and finance with today's movers and shakers in the world of business. Listen in and discover financial truths on a global, domestic, and household scale. Uncover topics that will impact your wallet today and in the future. Money Talk with Melanie airs Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. East, 2 p.m. West, right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio. You can't afford to miss it.
Human by race, Christian by faith, American by nationality, and conservative by choice. Reverend Ralph J. Chittum Sr. is the right guy on SHR Media from 8:05 to 9 p.m. Monday through Friday. And if on the rare occasion I am ever wrong, I will still always be right. The right guy on SHR Media.
Hey, this is Michael Wright.
And I'm Shannon Wright.
Join us for The Right Way with Shannon and Mike, Monday through Thursday from 7 to 9 a.m. right here on SHR Media.
Why are they joining us?
For fun things like sports, politics.
Oh, maybe some news and entertainment?
And all kinds of other things.
Money and recipes and events, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, so join us Monday through Thursday, 7 to 9 a.m. here on shrmedia.com.
Hey, BZ. So the plan's working. You got rid of Sacco. Sean is now stepping away.
I never even saw him.
And I know, and insidious. You know, we talked about this for a good for the last 3 years, and finally coming to fruition.
You know, I'm still in the room, right?
It's almost like he's here still. Did you hear that?
Yeah, it's kind of.
It's amazing. It's kind of
at you.
It's kind of eerie.
Poltergeist.
Like a poltergeisty thing.
Yeah. Sackheads against tyranny.
You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
And we're back.
Yes, we are.
Jaunty little tune. You're listening to the Sackheads against tyranny. It's Wednesday, August 29th, 2018. I like that. I'm glad.
I think it's a great tune.
I'm glad I found that. You go scraping through a lot of stuff, and boy, did I found all sorts of stingers and stuff. Oh, my God. My stuff has stuff. Hey, my stuff has stuff.
I just thought that was a song that was popular when you were in high school, so...
No. What
do I know, though? I don't know, right?
No, I have to be honest. The songs that were popular in high school were Ugh, Go Get Dinosaur.
Yeah.
Ugh, Throw Rock.
Yeah, no kidding. Ching, 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 ching. Right into the stone with the chisel.
That's right.
All right, we got to go quick.
Yeah.
We got to go quick. So, the Muslim camp that was raided with a 3-year-old died during a what is believed to be some sort of ritual. They arrested people. They were training for school shootings as well as potentially other public shootings, these young kids. It was a terrorist training camp. You could call it whatever you want, but that's what it was. It was designed to bring fear and terror to the masses to push in a political agenda.
And they were way far away out in the desert because they didn't want to be found, not because they couldn't find that the civilization pushed these poor Muslims away.
No, they were hiding so they could fucking train.
Exactly. That's why they were way the hell out where they were.
Prosecution failed on the 10-day rule to produce sufficient evidence. And the judge allowed 3 of them to walk. Now, why?
Is it just me, or is this not one of the most bizarre cases we've come across?
Insane.
Almost since the Las Vegas shooting.
They've already destroyed the fucking camp.
That was
the most insane thing I've ever seen.
When you have things like that occur, cock-ups like that, you can't, being an old law enforcement officer and you being smart as hell, done investigations and you know how things work, did not all have, during this entire thing, have not all the bells and klaxons come off and just gone.
I don't understand it.
Erupted through all your head going, how could they screw this up so badly? And why did this judge release these people on $20,000 bail?
Yes.
When you're talking about a homicide, for one, or a potential homicide, it's not in court now. It's not adjudicated.
Right.
You don't have to prove that they committed a murder. They just have to be associated with it, and you let them go on $20,000 bail.
Yeah, $20K walking out the door.
And then you take that compound, which is evidence,
and destroy it.
And you raise with bulldozers that entire compound. The only words that I can proffer at this point are, what the fuck?
Well, and if nothing else, after you make sure you do your evidentiary searches and you have your techs go in and they pull this apart, take pictures and measure that, whatever, you also maintain something like that. And you could do this reasonably.
I can tell you why.
What if the prosecution wants to bring the jury out there?
See, okay, all right. This is why you and I are on the show at the same time. I'm a little slow on this, but... Exactly. How many instances and cases have existed where, as a prosecutor, nothing will cut to the quick like going out to a crime scene, a house, a room, an area where the scene occurred, and putting eyeballs on that scene so that you can understand better as a member of the jury what happened on that site.
Yeah.
That's a perfect thing to do. And yet you remove that ability from the prosecution? Under whose order and authority? If I were the department reigning over that, I'd be kicking camshafts over someone making that decision if I weren't consulted. And if I was consulted, why would I ever approve?
Yeah, I'd be 450 over 210.
Oh, good Lord. None of this is making any sense whatsoever. And then this week, The cock up where the DA, are you serious? You're trying to tell me the DA isn't paying attention to,
and I hate to say
to
this,
process under something this serious?
Why were they not being held? I don't know.
That's the judge's decision, and that judge, I don't have
a federal court judge, right?
I don't have bad. No, it wasn't.
That's the problem, right? Because if it was a federal court judge, they'd fuck them up the ass. But because, and this is why, look, God, this is where I'm going to get yelled at probably. But this is at times almost like ICE needs to do in some cases. This is where the feds, Homeland Security, the feds, U.S. District Attorney's Office, whatever, needs to step in and go, hey, you know what? Because this is terrorism and this kind of falls a little bit more under.
Yeah, we got this.
We got this. Which makes you wonder if the evidence wasn't destroyed quickly for a reason.
That's my exact point. This thing, there's
on a local level, they fucked up and they're trying to make it go away.
There's a stench coming out of this bad boy.
Oh, horrible.
That I can smell, and obviously you can smell, and I bet the people that are listening live and the people that are listening in the chat rooms and the folks that are listening to us in podcast, because here's another thing. You being the brilliant individual that you are, you discovered by analytics the other day that we get a ton of listens and views in our podcasts. Right. We get a lot more than we thought.
So, this is just insane.
But it's crazy. Why would you let something this potentially serious? Well, the other thing is that this judge made mention of the fact that she believed the prosecutor was aiming at these people because they were Muslim.
Right.
And again, I step back in my broad umbrella kind of view and say something similar to AYFKM.
Right.
On this,
Are you fucking kidding me?
I guess what small 3-year-old Muslim children don't get police protection and don't get representation under the state of New Mexico. They're not worthy of that. So we let these people go, and then we point out that you're just going after Muslims who kill children.
What you should have said to the prosecutor is, absolutely, we're going to be looking into his Muslim faith, because if there was something in that led to this child being executed under the belief that for religious reasons, then yes, we will highlight that into our case. However, if we went to a training camp and placed a dead body and made all this stuff up just because this guy's Muslim, okay, then you got me by the nuts.
Yeah, you got me.
But we were called there. I say this with cops all the time. I say this with law enforcement all the time. They're not just driving around looking for people. You could think that, but most busy areas, they don't have time to be driving around. There's no proactivity anymore. They were called there for a reason. That young boy's body was there because he was murdered there and they tried to cover it. They were training youth to go into schools, public places, and be the next jihadists.
Well, then I guess it's also really important that this judge believed that it was important to reduce the bails of these people so they could go back and continue to abuse these kids, because it turns out that they were 11 malnourished kids. So again, I say, well, apparently Muslims don't deserve protection of the law. And these kids, because they're Muslim kids, apparently don't deserve the protection of New Mexico law as well. What other conclusion can you draw out of
you
that?
have the kidnapping across state lines, so now you can start talking about federal. You have the potential terrorism conspiracy going on. You have a lot of things going on. The feds, I hate to say this, and I'm probably going to get kicked in the balls by a few friends, but the New Mexican government is fucking this like a $2 whore, and they need to go in and actually levy federal charges on these fucks. They can still face the state charges, but they should have absolutely been federal charges on this, hands down. And if the U.S. District Attorney in that area wasn't chomping at the bit to fucking be there today to rearrest them for federal charges, what the fuck?
Yeah, it's when you have one thing that's awry, you think to yourself, oh, that's kind of weird. Then when you have a judge dropping bail, then you say, well, that's even weirder still. And then when you have an underreaction by the court to the severity of the charges, you continue to think, damn, that is really weird. And then when you have people go in with bulldozers and completely raze that compound that no one seems to know who specifically gave that order, you say, this is approaching the Twilight Zone. And then when you have the DA screwing the pooch and not abiding by processes and procedures, you have to ask yourself somewhere along the line, is this purposeful? Or are they really that incompetent and or biased?
Well, you know what they say, where there's smoke, there's assholes, and there's a whole bunch of smoke in New Mexico right now.
I haven't heard that, but I'm picking that up from now
on. Let's move on. Look, everyone else has talked about this. We'll touch on it.
Yeah,
for a few
we'll
minutes.
address it here.
You know, the passing of Senator John McCain. Look, here's my belief, Sackhead Sean. I'll never touch his military service at all. I thank him like I do anybody else. We can talk about the Forrestal and his incarceration as a POW, etc.
Right. That's
not the time or place.
No, that's down the road.
You know, you could talk about him as a personal man with his family and his loved ones. I have nothing negative to say. By all accounts, he was a good dad. He loved the people around him, and he treated them lovely. You know, maybe he had a temper, or he was rough as a kid. Who wasn't? As a senator, I have my serious issues with him. I think that specifically after he lost the election, he felt that the GOP kind of slapped him in the face, that he got Palin, who was, at the time, everyone forgets, she was a relative nobody, who was more conservative than he was. I think he wanted Romney as his running mate. It didn't happen. I think he got slapped in the face. And ever since then, and a few times before, but ever since then, he was about sticking the finger in the face of the GOP, and it was completely personal. Part of the Gang of Eight. How many times did he vow to overturn Obamacare and then do nothing? All these different things. He was not a great senator. Look, his fight was Trump. Yeah, Trump brought that. McCain brought that on himself for the things that he said. He knows how Trump is. They're going to go back and forth. And, Trump was speaking to his interactions with McCain. What I want to point out, amazingly, you had so many Democrats the entire time McCain was in office talking about what a horrific, awful, terrible person he was. Evil, some of them said. How he was the scum of the earth and blah, 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 blah. Until he died. And then all of a sudden,
we love John McCain.
The flag wasn't lowered fast enough or something. Yeah, and it's the We Love John McCain party. And they all I said it on Twitter the other day. I said, if this many Democrats loved John McCain when he ran for president, he would have won.
He would be.
Hands down.
It would have been President McCain.
Because these are the representatives of their district, and if they feel this way about McCain now, then their district would have elected him.
Yeah, they could have placed their votes. How weird is that?
It's absolutely horrific. And yes, somebody, Jennifer in the chat room, of course nobody deserves cancer. He didn't deserve to die the way he died. I don't think anybody does, though. I don't think any... all right, there's a few people I'll tell you that if I saw, I would be like, whatever. But he was not one of those people. The ones I'm talking about are like pedophiles and stuff like that. The normal human being, politics aside, does not deserve to die that way. They don't deserve to suffer. Nobody does. Not like that. Normal people. Well, like I said, there's some other people whose suffering doesn't bother me. You want to take a terrorist, flip him upside down, and pour a gallon of water into his face. Tough shit.
Straight ahead.
Right. So.
By the Northern Star. Do it.
Right. But, all these people, even from the right, who are making it so quick. Look, all right, you didn't like him as a senator. The people kept voting him in. I try to respect his family enough. I haven't said anything on social media. I will tell you that I disagree with him politically and why. But he did serve this country. He served as a senator, which that doesn't, just because you don't like his politics doesn't mean that it wasn't a serving of the people as well. He's essentially served people his entire life. There's something to be said about that. I've never heard of bad things. That's what I'm saying. People have gone on some hellacious things that I've read from the right side of the aisle about John McCain. where I'm just like, all right, aren't we supposed to be bigger about certain things? I don't mind getting into the trenches with the Democrats when it's time. I don't mind slamming Antifa and calling them all pussies and all this other stuff, but we're supposed to recognize when it's time to be civil and when it's time to fight. And politics aside, when that man died, it should have been respect. I see shit on Facebook all the time that pisses me off, because if it was flipped around, if this was, say, Senator Ted Cruz and the left was doing this, we'd be going, the right side of the aisle would be going out of their fucking minds, right? Or pick any other senator who served both in the military. Pick anyone. We'd be losing our fucking minds if the Democrats were doing this. And you could say McCain wasn't a full-on Republican. Okay, fine. But that doesn't mean that we should be acting with such vitriol over somebody who's just passed away. I can tell you, I disagreed with him as a senator 80% of the time. He pissed me off more times than I can count. He flung the finger in the face of the party. He did a lot of shitty things. I don't think the man deserved to die. I don't think that half the shit that I'm seeing in these posts are applicable or even acceptable. I just think it sucks.
One thing that you and I discussed during one of the breaks was, and before the show as well, it's almost like a reversal. Everyone was saying it, and I think I made this contrast before. People loved Obama or liked Obama and hated his policies. The reverse with Trump. They hated Trump, but a lot of people like his policies. Well, with McCain is similar to Obama in terms of you can like him and you can respect him and you can say his policies were absolutely terrible. I'm going to discuss this tomorrow night on BZ's Berserk Bobcat Saloon in more depth. But the first thing that I will say right now, and when I step off about McCain tomorrow, one of the first things that I'm going to say is it's an I wish.
Yes.
And I wish that John McCain had been the two things that I value most out of a speaker, an interviewer, a presenter, someone in politics. I value two things, honesty and clarity. Mm-hmm. I wish John McCain had just been honest with the people in Arizona. I wish he'd been honest with the GOP.
Yeah.
And I wish he'd been clear about what he wanted to do. I would, if let's rewind the tape, and John McCain is getting into politics as a young guy. And if John McCain and his policies and his politics were the same then, I do not know, but I'm just throwing this out as an option and an opinion. If John McCain had decided from the very get-go to put a D after his name instead of an R, and then went out and represented himself as a supporter of all of those types of policies, we wouldn't be throwing the rhino appellation upon him.
Or an I.
And we would say, gosh, look at Senator McCain. He seems to be representing his people in Arizona well, because he is in concert, in confluence with the flow of what the Democrat Party at that time is representing and embracing. So he's holding on to his party's policies.
I agree.
But he didn't.
No, I agree there too.
And that's the honest and clear portion that I want to throw out now. I just kind of wish he'd done that from the get-go.
Yeah, I think as a Republican, he sucked.
And fewer people would be having any issue with John McCain at all. That's one of the things that I appreciate about Bernie Sanders. Don't agree with a damn thing he says.
How many times have I said this with you?
And you and I have said this time after time after
agreed.
time. I respect Bernie Sanders because he's honest and he's clear. He's a socialist, and he'll tell you that all day long.
And he's so honest and believes in the poor that he drives a $200,000 Audi and doesn't care who sees him.
Right.
I mean, I hate to say it, but He's out there. He lets you know everything about him. He's a socialist. He believes in the socialist way. He believes that the power in the socialists should be at the top and everybody else suffers. And he has no fucking problem showing it.
No. But at least he tells you.
Yeah.
He's honest with me. He tells me what he thinks.
Like I said,
I appreciate that. Thank you. Thanks to Bernie Sanders.
Like I said, I think the biggest problem with John McCain as a senator is after the election, I think he got screwed. I think that he got showed up by his running mate, who was supposed to be a nobody. And as much as I thought Sarah did a great job of running, considering she was thrown onto the national platform and kind of thrown into the mix. And
she was a neophyte that everybody trashed.
Right, and she had to learn to fend for herself. And I don't think John McCain appreciated the party doing that. I don't think he appreciated party leadership. And where he was once much more of a centrist, I think he started leaning, but not because of maybe what he believed personally, but because I think he would do it to say F you. I think he was bitter about it. I think he was angry about it.
I would agree.
And I think that led to a lot of his decisions. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't really know. A couple other things, and I'm going to move things around, BZ, if you don't mind, because I do want to spend the last 30 on the FBI. So I want to talk about DeSantis and no, because you have the clip on that, so maybe we'll hold on to that. The Palestinian aid cut. We get 3 minutes. This won't take that long. President Trump announced that he's going to cut aid to the Palestinians.
Yeah.
Look, there's nothing wrong with this. Israel's stoked. I'm stoked. You're stoked. Should have happened 5 years ago, 50 years ago.
Well, in the big scheme of things, the story is, and of course, obviously, Israel is officially hailing Trump as somebody who does what he says. I talked to Jeff Dunitz this morning.
He's going to run over there after he's done here,
One of the things he said was...
And he'll win.
That, hey, my God, this is a president who not only said he was going to put the embassy in Jerusalem, and it wasn't just mouth music.
No, it's be built.
But he went ahead and did it, and then further, this is the delicious part. This is the part that just kills me. When he did it, he came in under budget.
Yes. I know. He's just... Look, I've been telling everybody, outside of hurt feelings, show me what Trump has done wrong. Outside of hurt feelings. And I say to my 7-year-old, soon to be 8, all the time, you know what happens when your feelings get hurt? Fucking nothing.
Nothing.
But outside of hurt feelings and boo-boo faces, what has he done bad? Yeah, politically, you could say, well, I don't agree with moving it to Jerusalem. Okay. That's fine. Obama did shit like that, too. We can argue that. That's okay.
Trump has done everything he said he's going to do.
Bad. Legitimately bad. And I'm waiting for people to come tell me what he's done that's actually bad. Said some naughty things before he was elected. Oh, well, maybe he paid off Stormy Daniels. Well, fucking how much did Clinton pay off Paula Jones, and he's hailed as a hero? Look, I'm not saying that it's like the morally right thing. The guy wasn't even president.
Do you want a figure? Because I happen to know the answer to that.
It's $128K to like $572K or something like that.
$850,000.
But at the end of the day,
that's not an
what
issue.
I want people to show me, though, is what he has done bad. Look at our relationship with China. Look at what's going on with North Korea. I know it still needs to pan out, but it's still happening.
It's a work in progress, but at least it's in progress.
Look at our GDP. Look at our unemployment rate. Look at the NAFTA agreement this week. You look at all these different things, all the shit that he says he's going to do. By the way, out of this new agreement,
he did.
I don't know if you've figured it out yet, but remember when he said we're going to build a wall and Mexico's going to pay for it?
Right.
This agreement is going to tie into that. Just waiting for that to roll down the line to see how that's going to pan out. But what I'm saying is what has he done that's bad? Look, if you're on the left, legitimately in your political belief, all right, the tax cuts, because that's politically against what you want. It hasn't been bad for Americans, but as a Democrat politically, okay, the wall will be your other, that's bad, it's unwelcoming. Okay, fine. But overall, even if you're sitting on the left fucking side of the aisle, right, you have more money in your pocket. You have a better chance of getting a better job. If you're in an inner city community, and you're a minority, your chances of getting a job that pays well is better now than it was any time over the last 20 years. So show me what the man has done that's fucking bad. And now he's cut money to a terrorist organization.
This from an individual, me, who lives in California. When the tax cuts came through, yeah, we're going to go to it. My paycheck went up about $200. But with regard to the Palestinian thing, here's the point of it all. Trump formally rejected the Palestinian right of return for millions of Palestinians classified as refugees and their descendants to Israel, as well as his order, and this is the point, his order to cut hundreds of millions of dollars in aid money to the UN agency for those refugees. And so that was absolutely terrible, wasn't it? We just got told it was absolutely terrible. But in the big scheme of things, really?
Nope.
How important is $200 million? And the answer is, around here, that's chump change.
Mm-hmm. But to the Palestinians, that's a lot of rockets from Iran.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. How sad, right?
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Hey, it's Sean from the Sackheads radio show. Also one of the owners here at the SHR Media Network. Are you opinionated? Have you ever wanted to do your own show? Have you ever heard somebody like the Sackheads and go, yeah, I could probably do that better? Well, now's your chance. Send me a 5-minute clip at sackheadsradio@gmail.com, and maybe you can be part of the SHR broadcasting team. sackheadsradio@gmail.com.
Broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, a mere 2 miles from the state capitol, the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show can be heard every Tuesday and Thursday night at 8 p.m. Pacific and 11 p.m. Eastern, only on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com to listen. You can also watch on the SHR Media Facebook page and the SHR Media YouTube channel. No goldfish were abused in the making of this ad.
When dirty politicians, shadow governments, and deceptive Islam blind the world with fake stream media smoke, their only fear is one man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me through shrmedia.com, highplanestalkradio.com, and the Western Free Radio Network at Spreaker, YouTube, and iTunes for a different perspective weekly on the Unpleasant Blind Guy. And catch me on Jeff Mitchell's EDL Radio on blogtalkradio.com. There's
no surrender ever,
because truth is not always pleasant.
Hey guys, it's Sackhead Clint. I'm excited to tell you about a brand new show here on the SHR Media Network. I'm teaming up with the one and only all-powerful, the bloviating Zeppelin sitting here to my left, bringing to you a fresh new show here on the network. It's Against Tyranny. And we'll be picking up where the Sackheads left off. Excited to be with you, sir.
Sackheads Against Tyranny.
We're going to chat. We're going to chat Wednesday nights.
S-H-A-T.
Sackheads Against Tyranny.
Wednesday night, 11 p.m. Oh, it's the same time, right? 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific.
Same SAC time, same SAC channel.
Yeah. shrmedia.com.
See what I did there?
It's your business diva here, Melanie Collette. I am inviting you to a front row seat as I discuss some of the most intriguing details of wealth and finance with today's movers and shakers in the world of business. Listen in and discover financial truths on a global, domestic, and household scale. Uncover topics that will impact your wallet today and in the future. Money Talk with Melanie airs Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. East, 2 p.m. West, right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio. You can't afford to miss it.
Human by race, Christian by faith, American by nationality, and conservative by choice. Reverend Ralph J. Chittum Sr. is the right guy on SHR Media from 8:05 to 9 p.m. Monday through Friday. And if on the rare occasion I am ever wrong, I will still always be right. The right guy on SHR Media.
Hey, this is Michael Wright.
And I'm Shannon Wright.
Join us for The Right Way with Shannon and Mike, Monday through Thursday from 7 to 9 a.m. right here on SHR Media.
Why are they joining us?
For fun things like sports, politics,
Oh, maybe some news and entertainment?
And all kinds of other things.
Money and recipes and events, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, so join us Monday through Thursday, 7 to 9 a.m. here on shrmedia.com.
Hey, BZ. So the plan's working. You got rid of Sacco. Sean is now stepping away.
I never even saw him.
And I know, and Insidious. Insidious. You know, we talked about this for, for the last 3 years. And finally coming to fruition.
You know I'm still in the room, right?
It's almost like he's here still. Did you hear that?
Yeah, it's kind of.
It's amazing. It's kind of
at you.
It's kind of eerie.
Kind of a poltergeist.
Like a poltergeisty thing.
Yeah, sackheads against tyranny.
You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Folks, it's the final 25, the last 25 minutes here of the Sackheads Against Tyranny show, otherwise known as the Shot Show. Shots, live and direct from the SHR Media Studios with the Shot Cat. Now, we have over here Clyde. This is Clyde. This is the Clyde on Clyde cam. And over here, we can't show it. Oh, wait, here we go. We have the official SHR cat.
Demi cat.
This is Demi, and she lives in the studios now and then, and she's in with us here tonight.
Whenever she graces us with her presence.
That's right. She's a calico. All calicos are female, so she's just kind of an odd little unit now and then. Here's how she wants her water. If you go into the bathroom and if you're here in the studio, and if the cat is outside, or if the cat you think is inside, the cat may very well be in the bathroom, in the sink, looking up at you as you look down, about to wash your hands.
Yes.
So, by the way, isn't that how the cat likes to drink her water?
She only drinks out of a running fountain.
She will only drink out of a running faucet.
And here's the funniest part: is she's mostly a street cat. So the fact that that's the only way she'll do it is even more bizarre.
she's snooty. And
she's just a strange little beast.
She'll you can walk on by and she'll reach out and bap, hit you right in the ankle.
Well, and I'll tell you too, when you get here to the studio early in the mornings, she will bring gifts. She is a hunter.
Oh, gifts like
rats.
Know. Oh, she's a ratter.
Oh, she is absolutely a ratter. I will tell you right now.
You have been showered with gifts.
I have cleaned up more dead rats outside the studio as gifts than I care to ever admit.
And do they have little rat chumps?
And
chomp
she
marks
guts
on
them. No, she guts them. Head and guts gone. It is amazing, absolutely amazing. She's a little beast.
Well, you wanted to say something
I
else
want
about
to make one
Trump,
more point
too.
about Trump really quick. Earlier this week, former President Jimmy Carter was on Neil Cavuto on Fox, and he said, talking about impeachment, he said, hey, this is a no-win for Democrats. You do not want to go down the impeachment road. And you've had other people, prominent Democrats, starting to push back on the impeachment talk as well. I think even Pelosi came out and said, yeah, we don't really want to talk about impeachment. Like, we would just rather win the election. But here's why I think it's huge out of Jimmy Carter. Jimmy Carter was beaten by Reagan, right?
Yep.
Hands down, slammed. I mean, he won. But then, and BZ, you may remember better than I, but wasn't there impeachment talk the first few years with Reagan too?
Oh, gosh, yes, there were. And people were you could compare Reagan then to Trump now because people were saying, with the rhetoric that's coming out of the mouth of Ronald Reagan, we're going to DEFCON 1.
Yes. And all of the things that they said about Reagan, granted, Reagan and Trump are different, but the success of the two is what I'm talking about in their campaign promises. But you go to Reagan in 84 against Mondale, and he cleaned the slate. And I think they're so afraid of that happening again that they're going to start stepping away from that rhetoric of impeachment, because all that's going to do is rally the base of Trump's and conservatives in general, because even the ones that don't like Trump will be like, well, screw you. You're only doing this because he's a conservative or because he's a Republican, and boom. So I just thought that was an interesting point. I do want to move on to a major revelation this week that came out of the Judiciary Committee in a closed-door sessions involving the FBI, the famous dossier, Trump dossier, the Russian dossier, with Steele and all those guys. FBI agent by the name of Moffa, his special agent Jonathan Moffa. I'm getting this from thefederalist.com, but it was in other places as well. This article was written by Bree Payton, a very well-written article over at The Federalist. The FBI is disputing claims that the Bureau leaked information in news media and then used those same news stories in the application of FISA warrants to surveil then-candidate Donald Trump in 2016. Earlier version of the story, published by the Daily Caller News Foundation, reported that FBI Special Agent Jonathan Moffat told members of the House Judiciary and House Oversight Committee in a closed-door session on Friday, this past Friday, that the FBI/DOJ had previously leaked info to the press and then used stories from the press to justify FISA warrants. The FBI disputed the testimony, and there's been major pushback on the FBI. Moffat's admission that the FBI regularly used media reports to collaborate their own products, and a huge admission given what we know about the FBI's incredible culture of leaking for their own purposes, the source said, according to the DCNF. He never explicitly said we use our own leaks. Frankly, he did not have to. Look, and then you had Orr testify today. Based on the testimony Friday by Moffa, you had Orr testify today. BZ?
Orr testified yesterday behind closed doors, and there is an individual. I've heard Jim Jordan and Mark Meadows speak about the information in as kind of a circuitous route, because I don't think that they can drop a bomb just yet. But they're certainly making some grand hints insofar as, especially Meadows. Jim Jordan's, his reaction to what he heard was kind of brief, but Meadows was hinting kind of bigly. You like that word, bigly? He was hinting kind of bigly that information seems to lend credence to the fact that he suggested the exact same thing, that the FBI was utilized articles from, and this is no secret because this information has been published before, so it's out there, that they used information from a Yahoo News article to buttress their FISA warrant against initially Carter Page. But let's back up just a little bit. In the FISA court, once you acquire a FISA court warrant, you have to go back every 90 days to get it reapproved. I just happen to know this. FISA courts are similar to grand juries and ham sandwiches. With that knowledge in effect, however, when the FBI, with their affidavit, went to the FISA court, the FISA judge in attendance looked at the information and said, no. So they went back, drew up another affidavit, ran it up the food chain, and this is important because the food chain includes people on the 7th floor of the FBI and the higher-ups over in DOJ. And they all had to go, check. Over to DOJ, check. Now with the information from the dossier, went back, reapplied to this very same court, and upon the reapplication, using specifically the information alleged in the dossier, were granted the FISA warrant, essentially that the Hillary Clinton campaign and the DNC paid for, that was a warrant that was bought and paid for, ably aided and abetted by the FBI and the DOJ, and then they pulled the wool over the eyes of a FISA court judge. Boy, would I love to hear the telephonic conversations between that judge and certain material people at the DOJ and the FBI. And the reason that you're not hearing in public about any kind of a major disputation about this is because they are going to keep that shit in-house.
Oh, hell yes.
They are not going to let you know, and nor will a FISA court, because they don't talk anyway.
They can't.
But nor will they will even not remotely begin to air this shit in public. But can you imagine how stewed? Well, imagine you're a judge, Sean. You're the FISA court judge who signed off on this. And now you're finding at this late date that, yeah, you've heard stories about how they pulled the wool over your eyes, but now, as of this week, it's looking like these bastards really did pull the wool over my eyes, and I'm not happy.
Well, and his wife too worked for the company that created the Dossier.
Bruce Orr's wife.
Yes, Bruce
Nellie.
Orr.
Nellie Orr. Can I tell you what I think happened?
I forget the name of the company off the top of my head.
Fusion GPS.
Fusion GPS.
Okay, Nellie Orr works for Fusion GPS. She is the wife of Bruce Orr. Bruce Orr is in the DOJ. He's under Rod Rosenstein. Bruce Orr, CNN, fake news, are portraying Bruce Orr as a minor figure. At one point, Bruce Orr was the number 4 guy in the DOJ.
Yes.
I guess that's a minor character in the eyes of CNN.
They're acting like he was like pushing a broom around the DOJ building.
We only saw Bruce at night when he was pushing that cart around and the waxer. He was stripping the floors and then he was waxing them, and he'd be gone by the time we got there at 8.
Yeah, nobody really knew much about him anyhow.
No, he was just sort of a shadow character. Yeah. But what I think happened is that by way of Fusion GPS and Christopher Steele and Glenn Simpson, I believe she caught wind of a copy of the Dossier, brought that over to her husband in a briefcase, which is, I believe, questionable because I'm sure she didn't invite him over to the Fusion GPS headquarters, shows him a copy of that, and because of their political bents, they both decided, I can only do so much with this. My beloved husband, Bruce, so I, Nellie, give this gift, a copy, to you so that you can take it to the DOJ administrators because we both admit we hate that guy, Donald John Trump, the guy with the dead orange cat on his head. The football is in your hands now, my beloved husband, Bruce. See what you can do with it.
Well, and then this all dovetails back to Peter Strzok and his girlfriend.
Oh, Peter Strzok.
And his girlfriend. About their text, which, by the way, I just watched the video again of Trey Gowdy destroying him over the text. But this goes back. This goes back to that and him saying, "Oh, we have no political agenda. We have no this," and that was, I completely had nothing. No. He was part of the Russian investigation, the collusion. He was part of the Mueller campaign. Then you throw Orr in, and you throw all. It shows you the entire upper echelon of the FBI was bought and fucking paid for. And here's the amazing part: they were bought and paid for to stop Trump from becoming president. The FBI and the DOJ, and they still couldn't fucking do it. So not only are they scandalous motherfuckers, but they're incompetent, scandalous motherfuckers. And now, as you mentioned earlier in a text to me, you start getting into the fruit of the poisonous tree doctrine. Quick law lesson for everybody out there who doesn't know what this means. Fruit of the poisonous tree doctrine essentially says that if the fruit is bad, the tree is bad. If the tree is bad, the fruit's going to be bad, is a better way of putting it. I got it backwards at first. In other words, once something in your investigation is illegal, everything after that is inadmissible and illegal because you have obtained it illegally. So any evidence other than the DUI per se law, the law of the land, any other evidence after that fact is no longer legal because you have committed an illegal act during your investigation. It is the fruit of the poisonous tree doctrine. Well, you look at the 4 prosecution cases that are going on right now. Manafort's
Manafort's going to be on his second shortly.
You had the guy with the Greek name. I can't think of it.
Papadopoulos.
Papadopoulos
was going to change his plea from guilty to not guilty. Apparently today he decided that he's going to let it sit at guilty
because he knows what's coming. All 4 of these cases are going to get thrown out. Even if they get a conviction, it's going to be tossed out after the fact because of this doctrine.
Here's what you have to look at. The fruit of the poisonous tree doctrine essentially means that you have to go back to a potential source. And logically speaking, you must realize that the originating source out of all of these investigations and cases is essentially that singular FISA court warrant.
Right.
Now, on whom it was initially served, Carter Page, we didn't get anything material from Carter Page, so apparently he's not the mastermind of the world.
Right.
It was since he's still walking free. And then subsequently what we have are a lot of crimes of process, but nothing of real substance, although everyone is spewing to the world that Mueller has so much more because he's the smartest man in the room. He's got so much more percolating around in his brain, and as McCain was wont to say, the other shoe is going to drop. Not so sure whose shoe and on whose head.
Right.
However, that being said, Sean, can we do a let's say segment very briefly here?
Of course.
Okay. Let's say that it's proven that the FBI did, in fact, leak information to various media outlets
in order
to produce articles that indicate that there's something there with regard to Donald Trump. Now that they've produced, wait.
Can I say one thing about that?
I see a hands.
So just really quick, the amount of cockiness and the amount of balls that goes into that action to go, hey, you know what? We have such little oversight and we can do whatever the fuck we want. We're going to leak this shit and then we're going to use that in order to come up with this warrant for a FISA court for a wiretap that is so fucking over the top to get, and we know we're going to get it. But I digress.
But it's popular, though. It's a popular ploy these days because isn't that essentially what James Comey did when he leaked to his attorney in order to prompt a special investigation and have Robert Mueller appointed by Rod Rosenstein? Back that car wash up just a little bit. This is the same Rod Rosenstein who wrote a 14-page memo to Donald John Trump, the guy with the dead orange cat on his hand, and listed bullet point by bullet point by bullet point of all the reasons that James Comey should be fired, and then was the self-same individual who appointed Robert Mueller to investigate, amongst other things, why the hell it was that Donald Trump fired James Comey.
Right.
Is that not the most ridiculous, circuitous, crazy shit that you could ever think of? But it's getting popular these days. James Comey did it. The FBI did it. Robert Mueller is in the process of doing it. So let me go back
to your point.
My point of that's okay. My other point is say that the FBI did in fact do this, leaked to the media, and used those media leaks as further evidence of the veracity of this dossier when presenting it to a federal judge, and subsequently acquired a warrant for surveillance on Carter Page, which led to a myriad of other people as well, because it's like a big octopus. It continues to spread out and spread out. So that's what the FBI did, knowing full well that it had to be signed off, as I indicated, by people on the FBI, on the DOJ side. And let me throw this out there as well. We got about 6 more minutes before the end of the show. Can someone please tell me, and I know I'm going sideways here just a bit, would everybody agree here that Obama is a highly intelligent man?
Agreed.
And would not everybody agree here that Obama pretty much knew exactly what he was going on because he had a wonderful relationship with both of his attorneys general?
Yes.
With Eric Holder and with Lynch. So he was in the know. How much longer, like I call this the tip of the iceberg, how much longer before there's anything that begins to point directly up into the Oval Office itself? I, again, still submit, with all of these things that are coming out, and they are terribly egregious, I think there's more to come. Now, Mueller's insisting that there's more to come. I don't know. Maybe there is. But there's a hell of a lot more to come on the other side as well. But say that the FBI is responsible for that.
Yeah, but you also have to look at, too, and I mean this hands down, when you talk about when something can get into the Oval Office, look at Benghazi. You're telling me
no, you need to forget about Benghazi. Why do you conservatives always bring that up? 4 people died, big deal.
Right, and that's the problem. And we know decisions were made in the Oval Office that shouldn't have been made. And I've said this about a lot of things. The message may never have gotten to Obama directly, but they got into the Oval Office. Valerie Jarrett, there's a reason she still lives with Papa Bear. I say that all the time. And there's a reason she still has her own Secret Service protection.
If that isn't the creepiest thing in the world,
yes,
to have your advisor living under your own house with your wife?
Yes.
That's creepy.
Yeah. Come on in, VJ. VJJ.
Wow.
I mean, VJ.
But would you not go so far as to say, if this is proven true, that essentially what we have is a soft coup against a nominated individual for president, a president-elect, and then a sitting president?
Well, I'll go even further. That
it's a continuing soft coup.
I was going to say it's a soft coup right through Comey's actions of trying to get Mueller appointed. And if you could ever prove that there was some sort of conspiracy prior to that, and it's amazing to me that out of all the collusion talk, and look, Democrats and Mueller, they both, if there was something that they could get Trump on, it would have happened already. They would have proven their point already. They would have dealt with Pence for a few years and then been able to slam the next election, hands down, case closed. But they have nothing. And, they haven't, everything that keeps coming up that they have discovered about the Russians in collusion has pointed to the Democrats and Clinton. Everything that's been conspiracy against Trump has come out to be more and more the Obama DOJ and the Obama FBI. Going all the way back to Holder, I'm sure that there was conspiracies going on and things being adjusted.
I concur.
And you can argue time and time again. Trump said this and did that, and he met with this. Blah, blah, blah. If they had anything, if they had a fucking lick of evidence, it would have come out already.
It would have leaked.
They do not have a lick of evidence.
2 Hell's Angels can keep a secret if one is dead. 2 LAPD officers with regard to O.J. Simpson can keep a secret if one is dead. Mm-hmm. I'm going to ask a question, the final question, and then before I do that, though, because I think the answer to this question answers pretty much everything, and I'll get to that in just a moment. But in chat, White Mamba, who is an attorney, has said this: fruit of the poisonous tree doctrine that extends the exclusionary rule to make evidence inadmissible in court if it was derived from evidence that was illegally obtained. As the metaphor suggests, if the evidential tree is tainted, so is its fruit. The doctrine was established in 1920 by the decision in Silverthorne Lumber Company versus United States, and the phrase fruit of the poisonous tree was coined by Justice Frankfurter, the inventor of the Frankfurter, in his 1939 opinion in Nardone versus United States. Like the exclusionary rule itself, it was discovered from a source independent of the illegal activity. Its discovery was inevitable, or if there is attenuation between the illegal activity and the discovery of the evidence.
Okay, then.
Pretty much summarized. Thank you, the attorney, White Mamba.
White Mamba.
So let me ask this question, and I'm going to throw it over to you. Knowing what we know now, and I truly believe we are going to know more.
Of course, yeah.
Knowing what we know now, does this not readily explain why at every level the DOJ, the FBI, the CIA, and the NSA have all been astounding obstructionists with regard to essentially everything, even peripherally linked to the dossier, the warrants, Trump and Russia? Does that not answer a lot of questions?
It does, and it also sums up the Democrats' approach of look at what they're doing wrong so you don't look at us. Their whole approach on this is to try to get the focus on Trump so you forget things about Uranium One. You forget things about the Russian collusion. You forget things about Benghazi. You forget all that other shit that Hillary was surrounded with. And somebody else said, too, I don't remember who I said this. They said, hey, look, they're not looking for impeachment with Trump. They're looking to nullify the election. Because,
yes,
look, if they truly were just against the GOP Republican conservative ideals, the last thing they want to do is impeach Trump and get to Pence.
Well, true.
Because he is a dyed-in-the-wool Catholic conservative. He is about as old-school conservative as you're going to get. Don't get me wrong. I love the man.
In many ways, he's much more conservative than Trump.
Yes. I think Trump is
he doesn't come from the world of populism.
No, he does not. So just keep that in mind. I know we're out of time, PZ. It went that quick.
We had an absolutely great time, and it is that time.
It is.
Tomorrow night, the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon Radio Show, have I got a host of stories for you. I'll be putting out a lot of information and social media stuff. Thanks to everybody for listening to a true chat show right on the SHR Media Network. Conservative media done right. Don't forget my show tomorrow night. Thank you for listening live. Thank you for being in chat everywhere, because we've got so many platforms. And thanks for listening in podcast to everybody. From myself, the Bloviating Zeppelin, and
hello,
and Sackhead Sean, we say good night.
Like and subscribe to everything, damn it.
That's right. Folks, God bless, take care, good night.